Houlihan's is a failure. But before it became one, it was a multi-million-dollar business with over 200 locations. So how did it go from a success to a hot mess? This is the story of Houlihan's, a roller coaster of failure and success. Joseph William Gilbert, like other entrepreneurs, needed capital to begin his dream business. Unfortunately, he had no way of getting a loan. At the same time, he had to provide. In 1921, he married to the heiress of a modestly successful restaurateur, George C. Fowler. 3 years later, in 1923, he welcomed his first son. At first sight, it would appear that Joe had hit the jackpot. A wife and a healthy son. What more could he ask for? But for Joe, things were different. America was going through hard times. It was reeling from the effects of World War I. This led to the ailing economy of 1920 to 1921, which caused massive unemployment. So Joe had to support his young family as a dishwasher in his father-in-law's business. However, his fate was about to change. After 7 years of working in his father-in-law's business, Joe was now an assistant manager. He wasn't doing badly, and the American economy was improving. However, business wasn't moving smoothly for George C. Fowler. One of his business locations was posting losses. George was at a crossroads. He didn't want to sell the restaurant, yet he couldn't afford to continue losing money. He was in a dilemma, and amidst this dilemma, he got an idea. George decided to give his son-in-law a gift. He gave him the failing location, and that way, he didn't have to sell the business and compensate his son-in-law. And that was the start of a great beginning for Joe W. Gilbert. And if you like to learn about the history of your favorite eateries, be sure to subscribe for more content like this. Joe Gilbert entered 1929 as a new business owner. He was at a disadvantage as his new business was already losing money before he took over. So Joe had to find a way to make his business profitable. So he got to work. But before he could finish plugging the holes in his business, the unimaginable happened. America entered the Great Depression. For 10 years, Joe Gilbert didn't only have to battle with a failing business, he also had to battle with a failing economy. He was up to the task. Eventually, in 1940, Joe got his big break. He won the restaurant contract at Kansas City's Municipal Air Terminal. This contract enabled him to provide meals for both airport lounges and in-flight planes. It was his first true success. His restaurant became where teenagers buy late-night snacks after prom. It was the ideal place to get autographs from traveling celebrities, and it attracted people who loved to watch planes take off. Despite this progress, Joe had a bigger ambition. 20-plus years of working in the hospitality industry gave him an insight. He saw an underserved market between fast food and haute cuisine. So in 1945, he introduced his son Bill Gilbert to the restaurant business and commenced a search for an experienced and innovative mind. 16 years later, in 1961, Joe partnered with Paul Robinson, the Golden Ox steak restaurant manager, and this partnership was the start of an exciting concept, the Gilbert Robinson firm. Joe Gilbert was the face of the company, Bill Gilbert was the financial guru, and Paul Robinson took charge of innovation. The Gilbert Robinson firm started several successful restaurants that targeted the underserved market between expensive haute cuisine and cheap fast food markets, and Houlihan's was their most successful venture. 44 years after inheriting a failed business, 73-year-old Joe Gilbert opened Houlihan's Old Place in St. Louis, Kansas City, Missouri. Houlihan's Old Place was Joe Gilbert's perfect solution to the underserved market between fast food and haute cuisines. The restaurant offered London broil steaks, cocktails, fresh onion soup, omelets, burgers, and other casual dining options. But that wasn't its main charm. You see, Joe and his partners started Houlihan's during the liberal counterculture of the post-hippie era. American youths were willing to explore, and Joe knew the key to success wasn't about what food the restaurant offered. It was about how it served the food, the environment. So the Joe Robinson partnership made sure the restaurant had a colorful, deviant, and sexy decor that reflected the youthful longings of that era. The idea was to attract single baby boomers, and it was super successful. The company opened a new location every year, and by 1975, it had 4 locations in New Orleans, Atlanta, and De Perez, Missouri. Everything was going well, yet Joe and his partners were far from happy. They wanted more. They wanted to make the company a national brand. However, they lacked the most important tool needed for expansion: money. Thankfully, fortune was on their side. 6 years after starting the restaurant in 1978, the company merged with Fortune 500 conglomerate W.R. Grace & Company. By 1981, the restaurant had over 44 restaurants with sales revenue of $113 million. 5 years after the merger, in 1983, the company had 66 restaurants in 23 states. The situation couldn't have been better. But that same year, 1983, disaster struck. Less than a decade after getting the deal of his life, Joe Gilbert lost his life. The business lost its footing, and the company started a journey to the south. 20 years after Joe's death in 2003, the company had only 34 locations, almost half its size before Joe's death. However, it was still a lucrative venture. In 2006, Goldner, Hahn, Johnson & Morrison, a private equity firm, became the highest shareholder in the company and boosted the number of locations to 92 in 2007, and that was as far as they could go. The company was now a leaky venture, and nobody could plug its holes. The restaurant has had 3 different owners from 2006 to 2019, yet none of them could make it profitable. In 2019, the restaurant filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, but it didn't lack a savior. Landry's, a Houston-based restaurant group, offered to pay $40 million for the business. Today, Landry's group has stabilized the restaurant to about 28 locations in the U.S. Joe Gilbert built Houlihan's as a casual dining chain that would dominate the U.S. At its peak, the company competed with top brands like TGI Friday, Steak and Ale, and Max and Irma's. However, everything changed for the worse after Joe Gilbert's death. Neither his son nor his partner could save the business. Do you think the company was too reliant on Joe? Or do you think his son and partner didn't pay enough attention to the business? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to support our channel.